If this one narrow passage shuts down, nearly a fifth of the world's oil supply disappears overnight. But that's not the most surprising thing about it. Most people think of the Strait of Hormuz as a geopolitical pressure point, a place defined by tension, headlines, and global dependence. A narrow corridor that carries enormous weight. And that's where things get strange, because the version most people know is only surface level. Beneath that narrative exists something far older and far more complex. A place that doesn't just connect economies but reshapes how life survives. Picture an island where the environment pushes everything to its limits. Heat that doesn't just exhaust, it dominates. Water so scarce it dictates behavior. Land that offers almost nothing easily. By most expectations, this should be a place people pass through, not a place they stay. But here's the part no one expects. People didn't just survive here. They built entire systems of life around it. For centuries, explorers, traders, and empires were drawn to this region, not for comfort, but for control, access, and influence. Yet beyond all of that, the land itself tells a different story. Mountains rise in layers of red, yellow, white, and violet, shaped by forces that began hundreds of millions of years ago. Valleys carved from mineral-rich soils stretch toward deep blue water, creating a contrast that feels almost unreal. What makes this even more surprising is how people responded to it. They didn't try to overpower the environment. They adapted to it. Over generations, harsh conditions were transformed into culture, into identity, into ways of living that reflect the land itself. Even something as simple as salt becomes part of daily life, not just a resource, but a defining element. And it doesn't stop there. In a place like this, strength is measured differently, not by control, but by endurance, not by abundance, but by the ability to exist where survival seems unlikely, which is what makes Hormuz so difficult to reduce to a headline, because it isn't just a strategic location, it's a living system. And once you begin to see it that way, the real story starts to unfold. And if life on land feels unlikely, what's happening beneath the water is even harder to explain. By every conventional standard, coral reefs should not survive in the Persian Gulf. The water gets too hot. Temperatures rise to levels that, in most oceans, would trigger mass bleaching, a process that strips corals of the algae they depend on, leaving them lifeless. And yet, here they remain. And that's where things get strange. Instead of collapsing, these reefs adapted. Over thousands of years, repeated exposure to extreme heat eliminated weaker organisms, leaving behind only those capable of enduring it. What makes this even more surprising is that this process didn't just allow survival, it created resilience. These corals now carry a level of heat tolerance rarely seen anywhere else. In a way, they hold a biological record of adaptation under pressure, a glimpse into how life can persist in conditions that should destroy it. But here's the part no one expects. Their importance isn't just scientific. For the communities along the Gulf, these reefs are essential to daily life. They support hundreds of fish species. They determine where fishing happens, where food comes from, and how livelihoods continue across generations. They are not just ecosystems, they are infrastructure. And it doesn't stop there, because the pressures they face today are changing faster than they can adapt. Oil pollution, industrial activity, and environmental disruption are introducing challenges that evolution cannot keep up with. Unlike natural cycles, these threats don't come gradually. They arrive all at once, which makes their survival even more fragile. And what these reefs reveal is simple but critical. Survival is not guaranteed. It depends on systems holding together, and once those systems begin to fail, everything connected to them follows. And just beyond these reefs lies another system doing the same thing, a forest that grows in salt water. Along the coastline, something equally unexpected begins to take shape. A forest, growing directly out of the sea. And that's where things get strange. Mangrove trees here have developed a way to survive in salt water, something most plants cannot tolerate. Their roots filter out salt, pushing it back out through their leaves, sometimes leaving behind visible crystals. It's a solution to an impossible problem. But here's the part no one expects. This forest isn't just surviving, it's sustaining everything around it. From above, it appears as a dense green network along the shoreline. But within it, life is constantly in motion. Fish, shrimp, and countless marine species begin their lives here before moving into deeper waters.
What makes this even more surprising is how much people depend on it. For local fishermen, this isn't just an ecosystem, it's a foundation. Generations have relied on these waters, developing patterns of use that maintain balance rather than disrupt it. They take what's needed, and no more, and it doesn't stop there. Because this balance is now under pressure, pollution, rising temperatures, and environmental change are beginning to affect the systems that keep the forest alive. And when something like this begins to fail, the consequences spread quickly. Because this isn't just a forest, it's a hidden form of infrastructure, one that supports entire food systems without ever being noticed until it's gone. And at the center of all of this lies a narrow passage carrying global weight and an island shaped by it. At the center of this region sits Hormuz Island, small in size but immense in significance. Its surface is unlike almost anywhere else. Layers of mineral-rich rock form landscapes that look more like abstract paintings than natural terrain. And that's where things get strange. Just beyond this dramatic geology lies one of the most critical waterways on Earth, a narrow corridor through which massive oil tankers pass every single day, carrying a significant portion of the world's energy supply. But here's the part no one expects. For the people who live here, this global importance isn't something distant. It exists alongside everyday life. What makes this even more surprising is how these two realities overlap. The same waters that carry massive tankers are navigated by small fishing boats. The same land that shapes global narratives provides materials for food and daily living, and it doesn't stop there. This coexistence creates a quiet contrast, one that rarely appears in headlines. A place where local survival and global dependency exist in the same space without fully acknowledging each other. And yet, both depend on the same fragile balance. And just beyond Hormuz, that balance becomes even more extreme. On an island where life is controlled by heat itself, on nearby Qeshm Island, survival follows a different rhythm, not the clock, the heat. And that's where things get strange. Daily life is structured entirely around temperature. Activity begins before sunrise, pauses during the harshest hours, and resumes only when conditions allow. But here's the part no one expects. This isn't limitation, it's adaptation. Over generations, people have developed systems that work with the environment instead of against it. What makes this even more surprising is how advanced these solutions are. Wind towers channel air into homes, cooling interiors without electricity. Water systems are managed with precision. Architecture is designed not for appearance, but for survival. And it doesn't stop there. knowledge is preserved in ways that don't rely on writing. Boat builders construct vessels from memory. Traditions are passed through practice, not documentation. Even culture reflects adaptation. Clothing, language, and daily habits all carry traces of environmental necessity. And slowly, some of these systems are beginning to fade, not from failure, but from change. Younger generations move, technologies replace tradition, and what once defined survival becomes less visible, which leads to something larger. Hormuz is not an exception, it's a preview, a place where pressure has always existed, and where people learned to live with it long before the rest of the world began to face similar conditions. And the real question isn't how this place survives, it's whether the rest of the world is ready to learn from it.